All right, welcome back for the second session tonight. I'm happy to announce Gitte as our next speaker, who will talk about DevOps practices using GitHub. Gitte is working for Microsoft and has been a Techorama speaker in the past. The floor is yours, Gitte.
Okay, excellent. Hi, everybody. Good evening, and welcome from me as well for this second session of this Techorama Cafe. I hope you enjoyed the previous session and that during the break you were able to revive, get some drinks, and that you're all ready for this second session, indeed on automating your workflows towards Azure using GitHub. So I'm Gitte indeed, and I am a fast track for Azure engineer with Microsoft. For those who don't know the Fast Track for Azure program, what we do is we guide our customers with their deployments on Azure. We do things like design reviews. We make sure that the design that they have is right for the Azure platform, and we guide them through the configuration of services for their specific use case. So we go actually very deep into the different Azure services and how you set them up. My focus there is specifically application development and automation of your workloads on top of the Azure platform. And actually, what you just saw in the Delaware session on ARM templates and on Terraform, those are workloads that we actually help our customers quite a lot with as well. Now, typically, when we see our customers automating both their infrastructure and their application rollout towards Azure, we typically see them using Azure DevOps for that as well as a combination. But as you know, or as you may know, a while back, Microsoft actually acquired GitHub. And ever since, we are working very, very hard to make GitHub into an excellent tool as well for deploying your workloads to cloud. So what this session will be about is how you can leverage GitHub for your projects to set up and deploy your applications on the Azure platform. And the thing is, you probably all know GitHub, right? You either used it, have an account on it, maybe use some open source code, even maybe contributed to an open source project, or you might just be using it for your own tryouts and projects. And that's the thing, like everybody in the dev community knows GitHub. But did you also know that GitHub can also be used within your enterprise as well? And next to that, that you can also, next to using it as a coding repository, also use it as a way of automating with your workflows. And that's what this session will be about. Yeah. Now, question is, how do you get started, right? And what you'll see is that in this session, I will have no slides. It will be one big demo of getting started on GitHub. First of all, how you can get your code written, and second, how you can get it deployed to Azure. So first thing I'll be showing you is how you can get started coding on GitHub. And what we'll be using for that is GitHub code spaces. And I'm hoping the page is refreshing for you as well. So what we'll be using there is GitHub code spaces, your instant dev environment on Azure. I'll be walking you through how you can customize a code space for your people like yourself and people collaborating with you to quickly get started within your project. As you can see at the moment, you see here this button, request early access. So at this moment, GitHub Codespaces is in a limited beta preview, which means that you can request the early access, which will put you on a wait list, and then people are added to the program in a like weekly basis. New people get added there. So once you are able to write your code, next step will be to deploy your code. And that is something I will show you with GitHub Actions and GitHub Workflows. And what GitHub Actions and Workflows is a way of automating your full process, whatever that process is. For this session, I will keep it to CI/CD, so just building the code, deploying the code, but there's actually many more things you can do with GitHub Actions and Workflows. Okay, so first, before we go to the Actions and Workflows, we need to start coding on GitHub. And just to make it a bit of a challenge for me, you need to start somewhere, right? So you need to start from a repository, you need to start from some code. I already have some code out there just to not start completely from scratch. And again, to make it a challenge for myself, I've chosen a Java project. Being me, myself, a .NET programmer, so challenge accepted. Let's hope for the demo everything goes right. The thing is as well, at one point during the demo, I need to build this thing. Since it's Java, that will take some time. So make sure that if you have any questions, post them in the chat window. Wouter will be following up on those. And then while the Java code is building, we'll take time for answering those questions. Okay, so this project is the Spring Pet Clinic project. I don't know if you've seen it before, but it's like a simple Java demo project. It goes a bit beyond the hello world, but it's like, yeah, simple demo project. And to get started, what I'll be doing is I'll fork this project and I'll fork it into my own repository. This will take a little bit of time, but it's like a few seconds and I should be able to start coding on it. There we go already. Cool. Now, I now have this Spring Pet Clinic in my own organization. Now, the thing is, I need to start coding on it. And typically what you do if you want to start coding in a project, you clone it locally, and then you start working on it. But yeah, so this is Java. I would need some kind of an editor for that, right? Now, I don't have Eclipse. I don't have IntelliJ installed on my laptop. Maybe Visual Studio Code. I can use Visual Studio Code, okay? But then again, yeah, Java, I probably need Java installed on my laptop as well. Yeah, I don't really want to do that, right? That kind of sucks. And the fact is, if I want to start collaborating on this code as well, those people who want to collaborate with me, they will also need an editor, they'll also need Java, and so on. So that's actually quite a bunch of work to get that going. And this is actually where GitHub Codespaces makes things easier for you. Now, what is a code space? And there, the thing is, easiest way to show you what a code space is to just create one. And to create a code space, once you are in that beta program, what you'll see is this green code button at the top. You've probably clicked that before. It's the button you use also when you want to clone code to your own environment, your own laptop. You see here that there's an option here that says open with code spaces. And if I click that one, you will see that for the moment, for this project, I have no active code spaces. So let's create one, new code space. And that's all I need to do to open this repository in a code space. While this is opening up, by the way, I will just quickly open my own repository again so I can go back to it. Now, starting up a code space, pretty quick, actually. It's initializing, but normally you see it building a container. Ah, cool, so this runs in a container. And once it has opened up, you will see, okay, connecting. You will see the app is available for me. There we go. This actually should look quite familiar to a lot of you. This looks quite a lot like what you get with Visual Studio Code. And that's actually what Codespaces is. It's a Visual Studio Code editor, sort of hosted for you in a container running somewhere. And the cool thing is that this container and this default experience of Visual Studio Code comes with a whole bunch of cool tools installed. Let me just see. I don't want the later and blah, blah, blah. Yes, of course, I trust it. There you go. Okay, so default container, it comes with a default experience. And you probably already see, and let me maybe make this one bigger for you as well. Well, maybe like that. That should be okay for everybody to follow. So you might probably already see with this main being shown here. This means that, of course, Git is pre-installed for you. Nice. Maybe some other tools are installed here. Let's say .NET. Cool, pre-installed as well. Node, maybe, anyone? Let's see. Node is installed as well. Control-C that one. Excellent. Maybe Java. We're doing a Java project. Maven. Let's see. is Maven already installed for us? Yes, Maven is installed. We do get a build failure, but let's not worry about that one for now. We got a bunch of tools installed. That's good to go. Yeah. So this is the default code space experience. But the thing is, this default code space experience, this is actually something that you can customize.
Sorry to interrupt you, Gitte, but there is a bit of delay on your screen. So if you can slow down a bit, that's a question we're getting from the audience.
Me and slowing down, it's a hard feat to do, but I'll try. I will maybe in the meantime describe what I was doing. So in the terminal window, what I did was I typed the git command, got an output on that one. I typed the .NET command, got an output on that one as well. I typed the node command, got an output on that one as well. And I typed the Maven command for Java, where I got an output on that one as well. So that is what I did in the meantime. So I used the Visual Code's terminal window, so to speak. Yeah. So I did those actions again. I did do them pretty quickly, but you will have to take me for my word that the output was there. No, no, but I'll try to slow down as well. No problem. But so what you just saw, default code space experience, and that is actually something that you can customize, meaning that within the project itself, you can do customizations. And you see in the, I'll already open it up, you'll see in the working tree a .vs Code directory. And that's the thing with code spaces, the way to customize a code space is through .files. And there's all sorts of .files. And actually the .vs Code is actually a .file from Visual Studio Code, not necessarily from code spaces, but it does get picked up because it's Visual Studio Code. And one of the things you will see in that .visual studio VS Code directory is a launch, a settings, and a tasks.json file. And these are all files that will help you with the default code space experience or with the default Visual Studio Code experience. One of the things that you see described or defined in the launch.json file is that if you press F5 in your GitHub code space or in your Visual Studio Code, that it should actually launch the Java debugger. And I'm gonna take standard mode. So I got a pop-up asking if I want to have Java standard mode. I actually, since I am not a Java developer, have no idea even what that means, but I thought yes was a good answer to that one. So let's take yes here, and it should start. Let me see, switching to standard mode. This will take a while, and the debug console, it will take a while here as well for it to start up. But it should start debugging my project, and it should also start up my project, and I should be able to also open a browser window to my project. One of the things that you can do there once everything is started up, but there again, this is a bit slow with the switching to standard mode. You might see it at the bottom of the Visual Studio code window. With the switching to standard mode, that takes some time, and then the debugger still needs to start up. But after that, once the project has been started up, it will start running somewhere. And it will start running at a certain port. This will be port 8080, and that port I can then forward to the port of my container running my Visual Studio Code instance. Yeah. So you will also see, and that's something that I saw changing this morning, actually. Normally, to look at your forwarded ports, you have on the left side a window for Remote Explorer that shows you your forwarded ports. But that has actually changed that experience, and your forwarded ports are now in a tab together with where you see the terminal and the debug console. But once they are there, you can start using those forwarded ports. In case there's still a lag on the output stream. So at the moment, what I am seeing is in my debug console, there's things passing by. So it's actually started up the debugger. I also got like my call stack at the left and breakpoints at the left for Java. So it is actually doing something and starting up. What I don't see yet is my ports. So it's still running somewhere, still starting up this experience. I'll also open the Remote Explorer. There's still forwarded ports here. Okay, that's I didn't have them this morning, so something quirky this morning happened. Anyway, in this Remote Explorer window, one of the things you will see here as well is the code spaces you already have defined for yourself. For myself, that's one for a .NET Core sample that I have, and for this Spring Pet Clinic project that I have. And you also see the code space details. And in the code space details, one of the things I can see there is that I am running on a Linux machine with 4 cores, 8 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage. Now, and that's the thing, at the moment, code spaces are available on Linux only. Windows should be coming up, so that's somewhere on the roadmap that we have that one. I don't see my ports being forwarded. Let me just stop the debugger for a sec and try and restart it again. Let's see if that does the trick. That seems to be going a bit better now. There we go. So I now have 2 ports that I can forward. Let me just see. Oops. And once I have the forwarded port, I am opening a new browser window now where I can show you the running application. Let's just see. This should start up as well in a moment. There we go. This is the running application. Looks a bit, yeah, CSS isn't all that great, but we can at least look at our application. We can start debugging our application. Yeah. So that's one thing within GitHub code spaces is with those dot files, you can start customizing your project specifically for the project at hand. Like all the tools that you need for developing within this project, they will become available through those dot files. And there's different sorts of dot files. You just saw the .vs Code one. In the .vs Code directory, there's also, for instance, a tasks.json file. And in the tasks.json file, you will also find specific tasks for Java. So for instance, the tasks that are defined here, in case I press Ctrl-Shift-B for building my application, it will actually run this maven-b verify command that is defined inside of my tasks. So that's one way of customizing, but there's actually more ways of customizing your GitHub code space. Like one of the things that will also work, and I'll not show that one because it's a lot of windows flashing about, and with the stream lagging a bit, might be a bit hard to follow that one. But for instance, people who know the Visual Studio Code settings sync setting, this also works with your GitHub code spaces. So if you have certain settings that you are syncing between Visual Studio Code instances, they can also be picked up by code spaces, which is a cool thing as well. But that's not all. There's even more things that you can do to customize. And one of the things you can do to customize, and just let me grab a link for you, is you can also, oops, where is it opening up? There we go. Click that one, there we go. So there's also this default container experience that you can customize. Meaning that you saw me starting up, I get a default container. It has tools like the Maven tool, the Git tool, .NET is in there, Node is in there. That's cool, but suppose, well, first of all, maybe you don't need all those tools, or maybe you want additional ones. For that, you can actually define a dev container within your GitHub repository, and that dev container then contains the extra things you want to have configured. So what you're seeing here is a GitHub repository that's maintained by Microsoft that contains a number of predefined dev containers. And one of those dev containers is, for instance, let me take the Azure, no, let me take the .NET Core one. That's a cooler one. Well, not necessarily cooler, but that's .NET. And you also see some .NET this evening. So what does a dev container look like? It's also a dot file and like a dot folder actually that is called dev container. And within that dev container folder, what you actually have is a dev container.json file and a Docker file. The dev container.json file will define things like what Docker file to use, the Docker file, maybe even which ports you want to forward already, and also things like basic extensions that you want to have installed inside of your GitHub code space or inside of Visual Studio Code in this case. And for the Docker file, well, in this case, for the .NET Core dev container, it's not really a spectacular one, meaning that it just starts from a predefined image. So that's not that spectacular. There are some extra settings you can uncomment in case you want those extra settings. But maybe let's take a look at another container or another dev container. For instance, the Azure Bicep one. You heard Tom talking about the Bicep project. That actually gives you a nicer syntax for defining ARM templates. So in case you want to start trying out working with Bicep, or maybe want to contribute to the Bicep project as well, there is this dev container that you can use. And in the Docker file there, you will see, well, it starts from a .NET Core base image, but it also adds quite some scripts to your dev container to immediately start working with Bicep. So that's pretty cool. You can actually, with these dev containers, specifically prepare your project for the development you want to be doing, which is a cool thing to do.
Thank you, Gitte. Sorry to interrupt you again, but unfortunately we have some additional complaints about the lag. So if you can maybe stay on the screen a bit longer, that would be helpful.
I will do my utter best.
You very much.
A bit more than the 45 minutes, then that would be awesome. No, I'll definitely try and do that, no problem. So I'll already open the next thing I want to show while I start explaining things. An additional thing you can do in your code space. So what you saw till now is customization, right? Customization within the project itself. So for the specific project, if you have a Java project, you customize it for Java. If you have a .NET project, you customize it for .NET. But what if you have like certain settings and certain things that you want to set for yourself, yeah, and that you want those settings to follow you wherever you go, yeah. And that's what you can get with additional dot files that you can put in a GitHub repository that you call dot files within your profile, so to speak. So within my Vermeiren profile that you see, I have a project that's called dot files. And within that project, I have certain files, and I'll open, so I hope this has opened now long enough on this screen. Within this one, you see a bash rc file. And this bash rc file actually just contains bash scripts, nothing more than that. And one of the things I do here in this bash rc file is I define a couple of aliases that I want to use within my programming. Yeah. So aliases that I want to have available for me that make my life easier with each and every code space that I create. So for instance, one of the aliases that you see at line 106 is the K alias. And the K alias is, for me, an alias for kubectl. So if I want to do Kubernetes stuff, I don't want to type the entire kubectl word. I just want to type K. That like saves zillions of time for me. So if I go back to my code space, and here With the lag, you'll have to believe me, but if I type K, you will see that it actually gives me the output of the kubectl command, which is pretty cool. So I can customize both for the project, and I can also customize for my own experience within GitHub Codespaces. Okay, cool. So we have done all of that. This is all to show you that getting started with Codespace is actually super easy, super handy way of getting started coding directly from GitHub. This will work both with your public and your private repositories that you have. And it adds the advantage that you can set up your project in such a way so that people can start coding and start doing things within your project straight away. They just fire up Codespaces and they're good to go. An additional advantage is as well, once you start using GitHub Codespaces, you can also connect from your local Visual Studio Code to the Codespace that's running in GitHub. That's also one thing that you can do. That is also work going on to make that possible from Visual Studio. So not Visual Studio Code, but Visual Studio. However, that is still very much in preview. In case you want to try it out, you can do so, but it will be a bit more bumpy. The connection with Visual Studio Code to GitHub Codespaces, that's actually a good one. You're good to go there. Okay, so we have our Codespace set up. Now we need to get this code deployed into Azure. First thing we need for that is infrastructure. Now, this is going to be the lesser interesting part of the demo, because instead of coding or templating that out, I could have done that, but that would have made the demo like fully lengthy. But what I'll be doing is I'll just create a web app through the Azure portal. I'll go very, very quickly through this one, but it's like the basic web app creation experience that you get on Azure. So I'm just gonna create a web app. I'm gonna give it a name. I'll first create a new resource group, so I'll call this one Demo Techorama. There we go. And then next, I'll give my web app a name. There's like not a single demo Techorama on Azure, by the way. You need to do more demos through Techorama, just saying. Anyway, runtime stack, Java 8. I'll keep the Java SE embedded web server. I'll be running not in central US, but I'll make that West Europe. And I'll create a new app service plan. I'll call it Demo Techorama app service plan as well. There we go. And then as for the size, I'm not going to take a premium SKU. I am going to take a production SKU, but I'm going to take the S2 and hit apply. There we go. Preview and create. That should be an all green for me. And I can hit create. Cool. Deployment is going to go ahead. And while this is deploying, I'll show you, I'll show this camera. I'll show you the next step. So now I need to deploy my code. Yeah, and for this, I will need GitHub Actions. And these GitHub Actions, what you do there is you create them in a workflow file. And these workflow files, let me just, this was my .files. Okay, let me go back to the current Spring Pet Clinic repository that I have. Spring Pet Clinic, there we go. So workflows, you actually define those in the Actions tab that you have on GitHub. So once you're on your repository, you will actually see an Actions tab there. And the thing is that for this repository, GitHub Actions has already picked up that I'm doing Java development, which is pretty cool. Like, it's giving me suggestions like doing things with Scala. It's giving me a suggestion of building Java with Maven. It also gives me a suggestion of deploying my package to the GitHub packages with Maven. It's doing a Gradle suggestion. If you look at what those workflows look like, so I'll take the Java with Maven one and I'll open that one. What this Java with Maven will actually do is it first of all has a name. So it says it's called Java CI with Maven, and it's actually gonna trigger on a push or a pull request to any of my default branches. So that's just the way it's triggering. For people who are familiar with the Azure DevOps YAML experience, you will see that this actually looks very familiar. Yeah? It's not a one-to-one match that you will have here. So there are some differences between the tasks you have in Azure DevOps YAML and the actions that you have in Github Actions. But the way of working is very similar. Yeah? So you see next, it has a couple of jobs that it wants to do. First job is a build job on line 13. And actually the name of the job, you can choose which name you take. You can call it build, you can call it Peter, you can call it whatever. Yeah? It then runs on a certain runner. So it's not an agent machine, which is a term you know maybe from Azure DevOps, but here they call that runners, which is just the machine that runs your build. And then it has a couple of steps within the build job. First step, line 18, will be checking out my code. Second step, line 19, will be setting my Java SDK to version 1.8. And the last step is actually building my code with Maven, npm-b package, and with the POM file at hand. Okay, cool. So that workflow will already build my code, but I actually want to get it deployed on Azure. So one of the things is, if in the GitHub Actions tab, if you scroll down there, you also see that there's a couple of more workflows already there that help you with doing stuff. And that is, for instance, a workflow that says deploy to Azure Web App. However, the thing it wants to deploy here is Node.js, so it will not really help me out here because I have Java. So I need to make this, I need to like somehow make a combination with the previous workflow file and then this workflow file, okay? But yeah, actually, GitHub Actions actually has a marketplace. So let me just go to GitHub Actions marketplace. Let me bring that for you. And the GitHub Marketplace is actually a place that has a whole bunch of predefined actions available. As you can see, it's like 6,229 actions that are available. That's, I think, even already a lot more than tasks that are available within Azure DevOps for doing things there. So it's a huge community that you have here, with predefined actions for doing things. Like for instance, if I look at the code quality actions that you have, there should be one here for Sonar Cloud. I know a lot of people are using Sonar for doing code quality checks. So you can find Sonar here. Let me just get rid of code quality. But for instance, suppose you want to do things with Azure Resource Manager templates. You find the TTK tool that Tom mentioned. You find that one. You actually have 3 actions for that one. There's also an ARM action to deploy ARM templates towards Azure. So those are available as well that you can use. Let's see. And what we want to do is we want to do something on Azure. So let's search for an Azure action. And it's a web application that we want to do. So in this case, it's the Azure Web App Action that we need. So let me open that in a new window. And this is actually how, or one of the ways in which you can find back workflows and actions to work with. In this case, if I scroll down in this sample page or like documentation page of the Azure Web App Action, you see that it has samples for deploying .NET code. It has them for deploying Node code. It has them for deploying Java code, both jar and war files, for Python, for PHP, and for Docker. Sorry, throat getting a bit dry. And this is actually where you can take a look. In my case, it's going to be a Java jar file that I need. So I'll open that one. And this will actually bring me to a example workflow that I can now use inside of my own application. Yeah. So what I'll do is I just opened this code. I took the raw syntax, going back to my Visual Studio Code. And what I'll do is in my project, I will create a .github file or directory actually. So .github/workflows directory. And within that one, I will create a workflow.yaml file. And I will, in this workflow.yaml file, I will paste the code of that sample that I had. Yeah. And that's what I will walk you through right now. We have 9 minutes left, and a Java build takes a long time, guys. So I'm just hoping that I can finish it all. Okay, cool. So what I did, .github/workflows directory, and I created the workflow.yaml file in there. The name of this YAML file is deploy Java app to Azure, line 1. On line 3 and 4, you see that it triggers on a push or a pull request. And next, what it has is a couple of environment variables, line 13 until 17. First of all, my web app isn't the pet clinic, but it's demo Techorama. Web app package can go to the workspace. It's Java version 1.8, and it needs a Azure Web App publish profile in my secrets, as you can see on line 17. Now, the thing is, you don't want secrets in your workflow files. Why not? Because they give you access to, in this case, your Azure environment. So you don't want that. Now, that's where you can use secrets. And those secrets, if in your repository, if you go to your settings, you have there a secrets menu item where you can create a new repository secret. Yeah. I'm going a bit quick through this one, but just know in your repository, settings, secrets, create new secret, and you paste the name of the secret you want there. Yeah. Now, next, what I need is I need the publish profile for my web app. Yeah. So what I'll do is I will go back to Azure, and in Azure, I have the download button for my publish profile on the overview of my web app. But that being said, there is a little bug. There's a little thingy in Azure Web Apps. If you download the publish profile and you want to deploy through web deploy, that it gives you the wrong URL. So one of the things I need to do is I need to add an app setting to my web application that says website_webdeploy_use_SCM and give it a value of true. And in that case, if I download the publish profile, the correct URL is in there. That's just a small side note for when you download the publish profile. There we go. I will open that file. It's opened on my other window, and I'll just copy it from there. But once I have it, if I go back to that secrets tab, I can add the secret there. And save it. And now that publish settings value is actually within the secrets of my repository. Okay, so that is okay. I go back to my workflow.yaml file. And I'm hoping the screen has refreshed because I'm going to talk about line 9. This one is, again, defining jobs for me. In this case, a build and deploy job running again on the Ubuntu machine. It's checking out my code, it's setting up the Java SDK, it's building my file, and next it will use a task that is deployed to Azure Web App. And this is my Azure deploy task. It uses the name of my web app, it uses that publish profile secret that I created, which is now in an environment variable, and it uses a like a /target/jar file thingy. That's the thing it's gonna deploy. One more thing before I check in this code, because then you're gonna see the magic, is one little setting that I just need to change one version in my POM file. Shut up. So I did this save one. I need to change one little setting in my POM file, which is this one package that's WRO4J, and I need to change the version from 1.9 back to 1.8. That's all. For some reason, local build is working, but the build on the Github Actions runner is failing with some version mismatch, some Java thing. I don't want to bother with that. I just change the version and then it's working. Okay, so let me check this in. I am still a command line cheeky, so let's do that command line. So I'm just typing a bunch of Git statements. Oops, Git statements here. Edit workflow. There we go, and I am gonna do a git push to get that change out. Excellent. With the git push, you will also see it's just pushing the code up to GitHub. I didn't need to put in any credentials. It picked those up from GitHub, so I can immediately keep on working the way I'm doing that. So that's awesome. Code has been checked in. If I go now to my Actions tab of my GitHub Actions, you will see there that it immediately already picked up the fact that I have this new workflow file and it started running it. Yeah? So on my screen, it's now running for 21 seconds, and I can open this one, the edit workflow. And here it might be that the screen share is a bit lagging behind as well, but what it's actually doing is it's giving you outputs of what it's doing. Like at the moment, it's in the build with Maven task. Previous time I ran this, it has taken 3 minutes, it has taken 5 minutes, depends a bit. Apparently for a Maven build, it needs to like download zillions of packages for some reason. But the thing is, here, those runners that GitHub Actions use, it's again very similar to what you have inside of Azure DevOps, where you can also have the DevOps hosted agents and your own hosted agents. Here as well, GitHub hosted agents, and you can also have your self-hosted agents. Big advantage of the self-hosted agents is that they can cache stuff, so they don't need to refetch stuff all of the time, which is an added advantage I've noticed with Java workloads, but also with like containerized workloads, where you also have the fact that each and every layer gets fetched each and every time. The self-hosted runners can help you there. However, do know then that you will have to maintain that runner, of course. Yeah. So this will run for still some time, and just oops, there's my this is my repository. Just for you to show, in case we don't have time left at the end of the session, but just to show you, I have this Spring Pet Clinic backup project on my GitHub as well. It has an Actions tab as well, and there you can actually see that there is a finished workflow where the build and deploy all succeeded. So that build is all green, and the application actually got deployed to Azure. If I look here at this Techorama one, I open the page. If I open that page, I still get like a default Azure websites.net. It's like this is the default code that's there. I had a demo Techorama prep resource group. I even have two, a prep and a prep 2. Where is it? There we go, demo Techorama prep, which is being used by this backup project. And if I go to that one and show you the page, and it takes some time. Come on, not coming through yet. I can take the browse button here. There we go. If I take that one, you will see it gives me the nice Spring Pet Clinic. So all good here. One of the things you'll also see, by the way, if you run those actions, the tabs, like my browser tabs, it's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th and the 6th tab that you see on the window. So the 6th one is the finished build, that is all green. So you see the green check mark there, while the one still running has the orange, like an orange dot next to it. So that's actually quite okay. Oh, look at that. Maven build already finished. How quick can you get? Good job, Java. Awesome. But anyway, that's actually a pretty easy, pretty cool way of automating stuff. I like you can use this either for your, let's say, your pet projects. You can also use this for your in-house development. One of the things is that let's say GitHub Actions are not fully on par yet with what you get in Azure DevOps. Like one of the features that's missing there that would be nice is the it's like the usage of environments, yeah, and that you can like have approvals and gates in place when going from one environment to the next. That is something that is not yet there for the GitHub Actions. But apart from that, it's a very cool service to start looking at and to start trying out. In the meantime, I'm also opening up the deployed application of the pet clinic, so you can see I'm not talking shit, that one. Excellent. Wouter, any questions that I need to answer?
Yes, and the first one is actually going to what you just mentioned. So the question is Azure DevOps versus GitHub Actions. What to go for and where will Microsoft invest in the most?
Okay, investment-wise, it will be the GitHub one. Yeah? So you will see GitHub moving forward a lot in the upcoming months. You can see Azure DevOps more or less like a finished product for us. It actually has all the features, all the cool and the neat stuff being in it. And that just means that investments are now going a lot towards GitHub because a lot of stuff still needs to be added there. And as for like differences between the two, like one of the things that's, for instance, like I mentioned the environments on GitHub still being missing. Another thing there is like data residency. If you need data residency, Azure DevOps can help you out there. GitHub will or should have something in the future for data residency for European customers. Okay?
Okay, thank you. The next question is also a bit about DevOps versus GitHub and actually more about will there be a migration path for the transition from Azure DevOps to GitHub?
There is work being done there. When that will be finished, I cannot say, but there's work being done there. Okay? That's a very democratic answer, I know, but yeah.
Nothing to share yet. Okay.
Yeah.
The next question is, will there be self-hosted like it was in VS Codespaces from Microsoft?
What do you mean by self-hosted by VS Codespace? Did we have the option there for self-hosted? I don't know. The thing is, I didn't see it on the roadmap. So I would say for now, no. I didn't see something like that on the roadmap. So no.
Okay. The next question, what's the cost of using Codespaces?
For now, it's free, like during the beta, that is. So for now, during the beta, it's going to be free. Once it goes or becomes generally available, there will be a cost incurred. And since someone already mentioned VS Codespaces, it will be in the same range as a VS Codespaces cost.
Okay, thank you. I see a last question, but I think that's more or less the same as the first question. As a developer, when using GitHub Actions, when DevOps, what should you advise in which scenario?
Yeah, I think we already answered that one. The thing is, for now, in an enterprise context, like if you need the different environments and going from one environment to the next, like Azure DevOps just helps you out quite a lot there. That was actually, for instance, for the Azure DevOps YAML pipelines, a feature I have been missing for a long time, which was available in the releases, in the separate release pipelines. And now again, it's a feature missing from the GitHub Actions. Apart from that, where I do see GitHub Actions shine is in automating more stuff than just your CI/CD. I see it being used for things on pull requests, on like, yeah, it's like a massive amount of things you can do with the GitHub Actions, plus the fact that it has so many different actions already available from the community, which is, yeah, great actually. The one thing, like, downside there a bit might be that, yeah, it's a bit difficult to see. Yeah, in Dutch they say the trees within the forest because there's so much out there. But yeah, it's like a huge amount that you have, which is cool. Okay, I think that was the last question you said. So I'm going.
Yes, there's also one remark that you might be interesting to hear. That is Gitte rocks.
Ah, excellent. Of course I do. Of course I know. Yeah, no. Excellent. Thanks. Awesome. No, it was very, very nice talking to all of you. I really love doing this session. I do think that Peter wants to say like a last couple of words, I think.
Yes, just to close here, we will send out an email afterwards to give a link to the sessions where people can find the session, and hopefully they will not include the lagging that some people experienced during the talk. So we had also people that didn't have any issues. We had problems with other people. So yeah, we have to see what the recordings will say. But thank you, Gitte. And if people have questions, they probably know how to reach you. And otherwise, they can also get in contact with us.
Yeah, and if you want to reach me, just go to my GitHub repository. My contact details are on there. So Twitter, LinkedIn, things. Just for me. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Gitte. And
thanks, everyone.
Let's close here, and we'll be back with more news about Techorama 2021. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.